They say water is life, and I tend to agree, fully agree, 100%. Starting from the plants to the animals to human beings, we all need water for growth. I've come to appreciate that, especially here in the village, in the Kenyan countryside, where we do not have access to tapped water. So our alternative is a source of water such as a river. And in my specific region, the kind of water that we have in the rivers around here is pathetic. The quality is very low, and so we cannot really count on that. For spring water, you have to go miles away for you to get clean spring water that you can use for home consumption without the fear of having diseases related to contaminated water, and that is for sure a long process. A few sunny days, and you'll realize that we really have a water scarcity problem here in the village, because look at this. All these need water. We need water to get our food, we need water to quench our thirst, we need water to quench our animals' thirst, and all that is not available readily because we do not have tapped water or government connected water, and so we have to rely on ourselves. In our journey to self-sufficiency, then we need to collect rainwater, the one that God gives us freely without caring about whether you're in the countryside or not, whether you are in the city or not. Rainwater is accessible to us all, and I tend to believe, maybe it's because of my upbringing, but I tend to believe that rainwater is the cleanest there is, especially in the countryside where we do not have a lot of air pollution. The rainwater is quite trustworthy. That's why we decided that collecting rainwater is the way to go, and it has really worked for us. When we came here the first time, it was during January, a time like this. It was extremely dry. Around here it gets really green when the rains are here, and for the last like 3 weeks we haven't had any rain, and it shows because things are drying up in our garden, and we really need enough water. But the water that we have access to in the river is horrible. I made a decision the minute I arrived here that I'm never ever going to use that water for consumption because it's not flowing water. Where I was raised up in, we had this spring flowing water that was the cleanest ever. And I loved it. But now, because of the challenge we have with the river water around here, we had to look for an alternative, and that's how we prioritized having a way to collect rainwater for home use, for consumption, for cleaning purposes, and for even our gardening purposes. That's why we have all this water that we've been watering our young plants that we need to have a head start with before the rains are here. So the first thing we had to do was to have gutters to collect the rainwater from our roof. And because our house is quite big, we decided to start off with this side. So these are the gutters right here. So it was surprisingly expensive. That's why we've not done the whole roof yet. We only have this section. So we are gathering water basically from this side of the roof. Only this part, this slanting side and this slanting side, and also the one over the kitchen. But it's enough, surprisingly. It fills up our 10,000 liter tank quite fast, and that goes a long way. So the way it's connected is, this is the point where which gets into the tank right here. That's what gets into the tank. And then we have this other connection. You'll notice that we have that connection right there that goes all the way down this way. And it has an outlet here. And the purpose for this, which we were told by our plumber, is to let off dirty water, because like now we've been having prolonged periods of dryness at prolonged dry period, and that means that the roof is quite dusty. So the first bit of rain is going to actually collect dirty water. This is quite hard to open. I was hoping that I could open, but the concept is that dirty water, the first bit. So like now when it's going to start raining, we're going to open this part, and then all that water will prefer going down instead of making the diversion. So it will go down and then it collects through this point. That's how you now collect all the dirty water. And then once you're sure that now the iron sheets are clean, you now allow the water to get into the tank. So this is where we decided to put our tank. We had to erect this raised part here, flat one, to allow the water, to allow the tank have a stable surface on which to rest, so that we do not risk damaging or breaking the tank. So the tank goes here, and because the water is over now, it has served us for quite a while, but unfortunately, or fortunately actually, it's now over, and it's time for us to now clean the tank, which happens every time the water is over. Because now as we're going to clean this tank, and then we allow that other water to escape through that outlet, then we're going to be sure that the kind of water that we get from our taps is clean for the next few months, until the next dry season, of course, because you cannot really throw all this water away. The next season is when now we'll, again, when the water is over, wash our tank. So this is how it is right now. Quite dirty, to be honest, because we've had prolonged periods of rainfall. So this is the reality, without sugarcoating anything. Can you hear the echo? So right now we want to wash this tank thoroughly, and then it will be clean and ready for the next rain season. So what happens is the water goes in through this part. This is the part connected to the gutter there, and then we made sure that there's no through way around here, so that we're now only collecting the water here at this point, and not all the other dirt like leaves and stuff. That's why we have it connected quite closely around here, and this lid remains closed, so it really helps to keep off all this dust. But still, some of the dust does get into the tank, and that's what you see right there. This is chlorine free water that we store in here. We do not treat it as of yet. We use this water quite often for cleaning purposes and also for cooking purposes, and the one that we drink is the one that we get to treat. And I feel like so far so good, because we've never had cases of contaminated water related issues. And you realize that all this dirt gathers at the very base, so the water that we get from our tank is very very clean all the time, because it's like it filters itself. And then of course when the rains are here, within like 2 long rains, if it rains for 2 days continuously, the water is already full. So what happens is we have this outlet through which the excess water is going to get out, because as I mentioned, we have this closed all the time. That's why we have all this dust that tries to get in but is protected by the lid. And then now we have the excess water flowing from this point, and that has saved us a lot. This is where the tap is now connected, and of course now that we're washing it, we have to be careful not to tamper with this, because it will then start leaking. So that's the reason why this part had to be facing on the upper side. And then besides this water that's purposely used for home use, we also have water that we use for gardening purposes. Funny thing is, we actually just so we had this idea about storing water for our gardening purposes, because you do realize that when it's dry, look at how horrible our vegetables become. And at that time, we had tomatoes in the garden, and the rain decided to just take a break when we needed it the most. And we really struggled. Getting water from the river, of course, you'll need help. And that took a toll on us financially. And still, most of the tomatoes got blossom and rot because of irregular watering schedules. And that was our wake up call that we really needed some form of storage. This is not enough. This is just enough for home use. But essentially, we still need to get another tank to place over the kitchen slab, because that was actually the reason why we did a slab at that end, so that we have a tank over the slab and it will complement the other tank down here. And for that will be enough for our home use. When when we fully done with plumbing the house, it can supply the whole house. But now for our gardening purposes, we needed to do other gutters on this end of the roof, this side and the other side, and that could have been enough to supply our underground tank. But then that proved to be too expensive. The rents were already here and we didn't have the cash, so we improvised. All the water, the runoff water that comes through from the gate, because our compound is kind of slanty, so it slants down this way, and all the water that collects from that side, we had to do some trenches along the road, because the water that was coming through was a lot and it could get destructive. But now the one that we controlled and it gets through the compound, we formed some form of outlet through this point, and this is the outlet that we did for us to now collect the rainwater, the runoff rainwater. So we directed it all the way into our garden this way, and it worked, because now we have some water collected over here. This was just a makeshift tank, underground tank. We didn't do the other one because we had to improvise like really fast. We didn't have enough funds, but we really needed the water, so we just improvised and did a small tank, not the one that we had initially thought about, but still it holds a lot of water. This was 12 by 8 by 8. So this long side is 12 feet, this one is 8 feet, and this one is 8 feet, the depth. But again, inside it's like slanting in a way, so of course the base cannot be equal to this other upper side. But we already have enough water currently for all our gardening purposes, not all, but for quite a lot of our gardening purposes. It's from this tank that we use water for starting us off, giving us a head start for our nurseries. Instead of going all the way to the river, now we have access to water. That's why we are doing all these nursery beds around the water bank. The now I'm calling it a river, but our source of water right here. The funny thing is the kind of water that we drink from our river around here is almost the same as this, only that it's not cemented. Like the water is stagnated, it hardly flows. Of course, it's like there's an outlet from underground that gives us the water, and of course as more people collect, it refreshes itself. But I would rather have flowing water, because flowing water is self-cleansing. But stagnated water, if something falls inside, then it's going to stay there until it rots and stuff. And I think I overthink. So I really don't like the stagnant water. So these we only use for gardening. We do not use this for home use, not even for cleaning, because it's stagnant water, and it's like we are rearing frogs in here. And so we just use it for gardening purposes. And this, see, it's very dry, but our garden is happy. Our garden is happy, our nursery beds are happy because of this water that we are enjoying from here. And for some other plants, we already did plant a few, like this one. And thanks to the water, it's now off to a good start. Even that banana over there, this one was planted a while back, and then it looked like it wanted to dry. See? Because of it's like it's a lava of water. It doesn't really like dry spells. So we decided to make this like a little water pan around it, and then we've been watering it, and I'm happy to see that we have new growth. So it kind of saved, the water kind of saved this one. And still the water around there is a lot, only that we cannot use it for the entire garden. I would love to use it for the entire garden, especially when we have a full tank. We can water all these, like this one that's so close to the water is being watered already. But we'll need like, now these are problems that come every time you get a new problem, you get a new solution for it. We'll need to have some form of irrigation system to get this water throughout the garden. But for now, we are just doing it manually using our spray can. This one is also a beneficiary of the water around here, because for the longest time, every time we have a dry spell, this is a fig tree, it dries up and then now restarts when the rains are here. So now I believe that when the rains are going to come, because we've been watering it from this point and it has even new leaves, it's really enjoying the water around here. And for that, when the rains are here, it's going to have a better starting point, and hopefully it's going to have a lot of more shoots. And I'm even thinking about how I'm going to separate these ones that I noticed when I was watering, that they all actually have roots. So I have 1, 2, and 3 separate fig trees, and I'm excited for that. Immediately it starts to rain, that's one of the things that I'm going to do. I still have other plants at home that I've not transplanted, but it's because I'm afraid that I'm not so sure about the rain season, when it's going to come. Of course, we are sure that by April we should be having the long rains. This is Feb, so I'll just wait a little bit until I see some signs of the rain, and then I'll start transplanting. Do you see how dry it is over there? But of course, it's a good time for harvesting and drying maize. So the seasons are good for, they do have their reasons. For those who are also harvesting and drying their maize, they are loving this weather. And then we'll all go back to planting. So these are all the nurseries we have around here enjoying the water. For most of the established trees, they do not really need any of this water. Like the moringa tree right there, it can survive and wait for the rains. But for these young ones that we planted recently, we need to keep boosting them and keep them alive. And this is giving us a good head start. We had thought of planting tomatoes for home use. we ended up with a lot in these two nursery beds. So we'll just do what we need to do, and if we have excess, we'll either store or sell. It's because of all these benefits that I've witnessed that I'm really excited about harvesting rainwater. Because do you imagine the cost that you save by having your own water for gardening purposes, and the cost that you save by having enough water for home use? I know the water bills can really go high for some people, and that is a recurrent expenditure for every month. So if you're able to harvest rainwater, you escape that rat race of chasing after bills, and then it helps you to get enough produce from your garden throughout the year to feed your family food needs, and that is also saving, because then some of the things that you plant will not dry up. And for some of these, like fruits, when they are fruiting, if they do not get enough water, the flowers abort. See, like this one, it has been aborting a lot, and we should have done some watering. I came to notice when it was quite late, but every time it's raining, then we have enough flowers and they get to maturity. I'm seeing some nice fruit over there, but I cannot access it. That's why I loved this dwarf variety, because then harvesting is quite easy. Whew, got it. Here we go. So if we had enough water when the plant was flowering, could be have enjoying more of these beauties. These are some of the most nostalgic fruits around here for me, because I used to eat them a lot when I was a kid, and avocados too. I'm hoping that our avocados are going to start giving us fruits this season. We've not been really keen about taking care of them because our focus was more on the Wambugu apples. But I'm feeling positive that a majority of these plants are going to flower this rain season. Water is life, as we said. And when it rains, even if you had irrigation water, you really notice a difference when it rains, because then all the plants come to life. They come alive, and they start flowering, and they start giving you fruits, and you see all this new growth, and there's such a surge of life in the garden. This is our house avocado that I'm really hopeful will grow more than it usually does this season. I don't know why it's taking so long, because I believe this is like the second year starting, so we should be getting fruits within this. I don't know, but there was a time that our goats munched on the entire thing. This one at first, so it has come up afresh, and then they also munched on this one recently. See, so that was a setback for them. Otherwise, I believe we should have now been munching on some of them. These are almost ready, so that's something exciting to look forward to. You'll notice that we no longer have the apples on our trees, not because we harvested, but because unfortunately the kids from our neighboring school around here noticed that we have fruits in the farm, and there was this one day that no one was around. They came and harvested the entire garden. That was one of the really down moment for me. And you notice that because they were just little kids like this, they were trying to get to the fruits that, if you remember, were here. And what happened is they broke off this part. But I'm glad that it didn't really break, because this is new growth. So we tried to fix it using this paper around here. but it's coming to life. And it's for that reason that we really need to prioritize fencing our land. But that will come when the funds allow. Everything needs is shouting for priority. So everything is competing for priority, and it's quite hard. But these are like the initial costs, and once you have them in place, then you just are good to go. So today was about the advantages that we've had regarding rainwater, and I've just spotted this one here. It's a butternut. Looks like it's almost ready for harvest. I love having these butternuts in the garden because they're really yummy and they do not require much attention from us. And this is the real taste, because how else can you wash all the way in there without getting in? I don't know how, because I do not have a broom that can go all the way in. So I'm the one going in. Wish me well, because if this thing starts rolling, I'm done. Oh, and it's very hot in here. Oh, Mama,
Acha nikushikilie.
and I thought as much. So the first thing is to wash all the dirt. It's so hot in here. Imagine if it starts rolling with me. There's so much dirt, so the first wash is just to get all this dirt out. So I'm just using the water that we had. And I have someone holding the tank so that it doesn't start rolling before I scream around here. This is quite an adventure. But I'm glad that the water is over, because then we get to wash all this dirt out and we are more confident about the kind of water we are drinking going forward. We get to do this twice a year, sometimes once. Twice is better because we have 2 rain seasons. Every time the water is over, we have a chance to access the tank and wash it thoroughly. Oh, and it's so hot. This is chlorine-free water, the perfect kind for any use, because there are no chemicals at all. Even plants love chlorine-free water. There's a lot of eco in here. The difference can already be seen, right? Look at all this. But the good thing is, this is just dust. We didn't find any stray animals, not even frogs that love water, and that's a plus for me. If I were alone, I couldn't have done this because I'm so afraid of rolling over. But I have Mama Bonnie behind the camera. She's holding on to the tank. And at least I know that if things go wrong, I have someone to help me. this accumulates from all the dust that I was talking about from the iron sheets. That's why we have that outlet. But sometimes the outlet is full and it's closed and it rains when we're not around. So some of the dust still does go in. It's so hot, I'm already sweating. Because you can imagine this thing is black outside. So, I'm sure even my camera will start going off because it's so damn hot. Now we have no option but to step in. Wash everything clean. I think I'll need to start with this one first. Because at the base is where now all the dirt was collected. Oops. Occupational hazard.
Kushikilia hapo. Ungeenda naye.
Hiyo ukiwa peke yako una roll. And again, you have to be careful when you're cleaning to make sure that you don't burst the tank. That will be a real loss. Tafadhali ikae chafu. That can actually happen when you're getting it off the raised surface. If you want to sweat, try this. This is one of the advantages of owning a home, because then you get to make these decisions yourself. If you are staying in a rented space and they use rainwater, some of those tanks never get to be washed, not as regular as you would want. And you can imagine if this is twice a year and we have all this dirt, then if it accumulates over time, then that water might not be as safe as we would love for it to be. So the other thing is, this area receives a lot of sun. And when the rainwater is exposed to the sun for some time, it kills most of the germs naturally through the sun. That makes it kind of safe, because we've never had any issues with water poisoning or diseases like amoeba and the others. So I tend to believe that we are quite safe. The water that we got out of the tank, and it's the one that we are using to wash. And then we have this clean water that we'll use for rinsing. So the other option for getting clean water around here is underground, a well or a borehole. But unfortunately, it's really rocky where we are. It's a fortunate thing because then our foundation is really strong. But then it's also a disadvantage because it takes a lot of effort to get to the water source point of, I don't know how it's called. So it's so expensive, and then when you get to the water, it only you only get to harvest water during the rain season, but during the dry season the water dries up, so it doesn't really make financial sense to invest in that. And again, the underground water around here, we have a borehole in a primary school around here, thanks to the government, and it has salty water. So that also discourages us from investing in a borehole, because then we won't have fresh water. But what we'll do in future is we'll do an underground tank, a big one, in the homestead for all our water use, and then we'll have it connected to the entire house as well as to the garden. That's the long-term plan. Of course, it's one step at a time. This is a lot of dirt. So I'll give it a rinse, and then I don't know how we will roll it over because you see that thing where the tap connects, you cannot lay the tank on it because then it might break or burst the tank. So I think what we'll do is just wash as is. That's why I had to put on a headgear, because in here we are about to swim and it's so hot. I'm already sweating. Let me clean where we've already cleaned, and then I'll turn to the other side. But the good thing is we are getting somewhere. We're about to start receiving rain, and the tank will be ready, clean and dry. So I'm using soap. It's not perfumed, it's just the regular soap. And then of course I'll rinse it thoroughly to eliminate the smell of the soap. Because how else will I get all this dirt out without the detergent? Let me know down below in the comments how you do it. Other options that there are. I'm sweating profusely. Let me know. Do you think that living in the village you need a gym? Because this feels like cardio exercises. I really don't think that we need gyms. All the activities we do around here are gym enough. If you're gaining weight and you're in the village and you are active, that's probably healthy weight.
Utanigeuza.
Siwezi geuza. Juu nikigeuza labda kidogo tu. Tukigeuza hii kitu ikilalia chini itaweza umia. Itaweza kuvunjika.
Sasa hapo tutakuwa nakamua.
Imechafuka. Inaendelea kung'aa. I'm really sweating.
Ni joto, ni kama nyumba.
That's why I'm so sure that the water in here is quite healthy. I got too excited. Because with all this heat, so the germs are all dead now. Because one of the ways to treat water is to just leave it in the sun for some time. And the tank is literally always on the sun. So because this is going to take a long time, I'll just pause and then I'll get back to you when we are almost done. This is much later and we've made a lot of progress. I'm just about to give it a final rinse and we're good to wait for the rains. It's really hot in there. I've just had a surprise sauna. So if you want a sauna, welcome. Just a few bucks per session. We are sweating it out effortlessly. So now this is clean water, very clean. We've already washed our towel and we're just giving it a final rinse. We already did make sure that all the dirt is out. There are these few that are stains. We're not worried about that. But we are looking out for any dirt that can move. See, the water is still clean. That's how you know you're on the right track. Just a final rinse. Much like washing utensils, but obviously on a much larger scale. The camera was off, so we are almost done. The idea is to wash from this corner out so that I get to rinse where I'm stepping as the final place. So right now I don't want to pour in other water because we've already made sure that to get all the water out. I'm telling you, this is like a sauna, for real. I'm sweating it out profusely. It's about Valentine's Day. If you have no money for going for that sauna, worry no more. We found a solution. Go get a tank and wash. You'll set it out naturally at no cost and your tank will be clean. Double portion. So let's get done with the upper part and then we like wipe the lower part where we're stepping. I know you have lots of tips about doing this if you've ever done it. I'd love to hear about how you do it down below in this comment section. I also will not want to put chlorine in this tank, but I'll be happy to hear about alternatives of treating this water. The good thing is there's not a lot of water, see? We finish it quite easily. So we are not so worried about the quality going stale or something, because we use it a lot. We rarely go to the river because of this tank. And by the time the rains are gone, this water gets over real fast. That's why we need another tank. Purposes. I'm telling you, this is a sauna. No jokes. What's a sauna after all? So it's dry heat. And you get to sweat the whole body. All sweaty. Definitely a sauna. This is not water. This is all sweat. And it's because of this, the hotness in here. No jokes. Definitely a sauna. So I'm done. I have exercised. I've also gone to a sauna. So happy Valentine's. You remember where we started from? And this is now what we have. Personally, I'm satisfied. So the next time I'm taking water from this tank, I'm confident that we are good. And the other thing that made me really happy is the only type of dirt we found in here was dirt related to dust. No crazy animals had fallen into the tank. So we'll need to have someone clean the gutters as well. And then we use the outlet to let go of the first dirty water. And by so doing, we'll be confident that the type of water that remains in here is safe for consumption. The first time I came here and I saw the kind of river down there where people get water for home use, I saw that that was never going to be me because the river does not flow. And this tank had to be a priority because of that. And it has really proved itself since then. This is like the third year serving us. We pray and trust in Jesus' name that it will serve us for much, much longer. Nibadilishe hii tumalizie sasa. This is the final rinse. Don't want to leave anything for chance because we are not sure about the next time we are going to do this. It might be mid this year, but it might also be the whole of this year because it all depends on how fast the water gets over. So if the water does not get over, you obviously find it hard to wash. But once the water is over, like now, because of a prolonged drought, then you get to wash it twice a year. But definitely, we will wash it again in a year. And probably we will wash it again in half a year. Either way, we need to get it really sparkling clean for now when we have the chance. That's why I'm making sure that this rinsing water remains clean so that we are confident that it's now safe. That's been like an hour of washing, but it's worth it. And there's some form of satisfaction when you do it yourself, because then you know you got all the corners. When did you last wash your tank? You need to give it a check and see if the water is still clean. It might have come from heaven clean, but got contaminated along the way. Harvesting rainwater has been one of the greatest benefits that we've been enjoying in the village, because imagine for the last 3 years we've never paid a shilling towards a water bill. There was a time we did pay to get water to water our tomatoes that were really suffering because of weather fluctuations, but towards home consumption, for the last 3 years we've never spent a cent on water bill. That should count for something. Thank you, God, for being the provider for that long. We are not done. I need to get out. Hiyo breeze. Ona vile nimekuwa. Hiyo ni kusweat yote. Let me now just give it a final rinse where you're stepping. And the sun will disinfect everything for us. Feels so refreshing to get out of here. Finally, we're done. Beautiful. I love it. We got every dirt out. Please do not judge. Ken tank was too expensive, so Bora tank it is. I wish they could have just called it Tank Bora. So they decided to just call it Bora Tank, and we bought it still. So the next part to get ready is this space. It has also not been washed for like half a year, because the tank goes all around here. I think we should have made it like half of this, but then we also wanted that window to have some little flexibility for opening and getting air into the house for ventilation. So we made it to sit here. You can see where it usually sits, and then this is where it gets connected to the tap over there. So essentially you cannot get through this space without struggle. That's why this has accumulated a lot of dirt, but because we do not have a lot of stuff lying around here, we are not afraid of like things like snakes. It's quite open. There's nothing that is placed here, although I would have wished to place the gas here, because this is where the oven is. So if we could place the gas right here and do a grill, that will be perfect because it's protected by the tank. My only fear is this is the kids' room. So whatever we are trying to avoid that it might like explode in the house, what if it explodes here and this is so close to the kids' room? That's my only worry. Or maybe we could do it kind of some distance away from the kids' room. That remains to be seen, because of course you'll need a fundi to drill the hole for the pipe for you. So right now I just want to get all these loose dirt out, and then we'll clean it. And of course we will not be able to get the tank back ourselves. When the man of the house comes with his friends, he'll get it back carefully so that we do not incur any losses. This should be a good process. We don't want to incur any losses, because if you burst that, that sets you back so much. We don't want that. So far so good. This is the much dust we got from here, but some of these has stayed under the tank for so long, it's almost attached. So I'm trying to loosen it up a bit. The main form of dirt we have around here is dust, accumulated dust. Because this area, it does rain, but when it's dry, it's really dry and extremely windy. See? Even right now it's still windy. So the wind comes with all the dust because we live nearby a busy road. We call it a highway, a village highway, as you will expect, somewhere where vehicles can pass. So it's quite busy, and all that dust gets to us. So that's the main form of that we have around here, which is good because it's not polluted dirt. Funny how you think you're doing something that's really quite the norm, and then it turns out to be a thorough cleaning day. Whew. Because now I'm even thinking this is a good opportunity for us to wash this window too. Turns out to be a full day of work, and the dust is dusting. Today we'll really need milk. That's for sure. So once we get all the dust out, we then come in with a mopper and water and get the area clean. I was surprised to hear that in some parts of the world it's illegal to collect rainwater. Like, what? I've never even thought about that being illegal. How can rainwater be illegal? Okay, do we have any other form of water? It's a cycle. It comes to the earth through transpiration, goes back and comes back. So in one way or another, all sources of water have been to the clouds and back, right? Even if it's treated, At some point, it made it to the clouds, came back to the rivers and lakes and oceans. And if that's how you got your water to treat, then at some point it was rainwater. I don't know the reason behind it, especially the one of my subscribers was telling me that the reason, especially the run of water, it's absolutely illegal. And if you have to fetch or catch this rainwater, then you shouldn't use it for drinking purposes, only gardening or something. It's crazy. I've never heard about that. For the longest time, since childhood, rainwater has been one of the sources of water across Kenya. Of course, there's tapped water, it's treated water, but I grew up knowing rainwater as one of the safest water to drink. It has served me this much. Maybe some people have a different experience, but for me, it's been a positive experience for rainwater. That's why I advocate for rainwater through and through. Even if you're in the city, for as long as you're not close to a factory that might contaminate the water or something, I would advocate for rainwater. It saves a lot. Because if you also have maybe just a few, what I see around here in the village is it rains a lot. There's a lot of water for just some time, and then if it doesn't rain for like a week, people are back to the river. Why? Because you don't have enough storage facilities. That's quite a limitation, because if you have enough storage facilities, then you're going to save enough to last you for some time. But if that's a limitation, of course, it's going to be hard, and we go back to the river water. This place is looking different in a good way. Feels airy, spacious. I'm even wishing that we had sinks here for cleaning, and then this could be our point for washing utensils and washing clothes. Utensils on this side and clothes on this side. Feels like a good laundry area. Probably in future it will be a laundry area if we find another spot for the tank, because one of the tanks will go up there. If you find a spot for the underground tank, like right here, and then we have all the water collecting to the underground tank and then being pumped to the tank over here, then this is going to be a really good spot for laundry. So I am imagining the type of sinks, the laundry sinks, the big sinks that you have. You have like 4 of them here, or maybe 3. And then this is enough space to move around. And because of this shade, it will work, right? It's a beautiful spot for laundry for sure. But for now, let it host the tank. Until then, now we're done with sweeping. Just waiting for her to finish the windows, and then we clean down here. Turns out to be a lot of work actually.
Nitaruka
Chafu kweli kweli, lakini inaweza ekewa mimea. So this is the outlet. See, all this dirt is what saves us from the dust. So what happens is, when it has not rained for long like now, when it's going to rain now, we leave it open. So the first rain comes through here, and we eliminate it. We throw the water away, we pour it away, and then now, once it's cleared, we close. So what has accumulated here is the water that gets in when already the rains are here. And we are done with this section. It's good and dry, awaiting for the tank. The window is also well wiped. Thank you for spending the time with us today. It's been a pleasure. This is Lane Afros. Staying in the countryside is a lot of work for sure. We've already had a whole gym session. We've had a sauna session. Now we'll just go take a bath and we're good to go. But the good thing is our mental health is on top. Because imagine thinking about other things when you're doing all that. Impossible, right? Because you're so occupied, your mind is clear, you don't have to think a lot. So even when I'm working indoors, it really feels good to come outside and feel the breeze and the fresh air and just keep busy, and my mental health snaps right back on, especially when I have this persistent headache after looking at the screen for too long. Then I just take a walk into the garden or just out here and my head refreshes ASAP. Thank you for joining us in our journey in the village, in the countryside. We're loving it every day and we are so grateful for your support. We do not take it for granted. If you've come this far with us, you really do support us and we appreciate you for it. Keep supporting us, keep subscribing and watching and liking and sharing and commenting and letting us know what you love to see from the village, and we'll just try and give it to you as well. But basically we're just documenting our daily life. It's so busy, there's something going on every day. I have a backlog of lots of vlogs that I've already done and I don't have time to edit and upload. But basically the whole of this year I just want to, my goal is to plant like 90% of what we consume. I'm also gonna try and get that sunflower oil for sure. We'll go with you to extract it. We'll start by planting and then we'll go and extract the oil and see the process, how it goes on, and enjoy oil from our garden. That will be the epitome of this year. So help me God. Thank you and see you in the next one. Love you much. Thank you so much for watching this far. I really appreciate your support. And if you're new here and you've watched up to this point, please do consider subscribing and see you in the next one.